A week on from the worst flooding the town Downpatrick has seen in living memory, it's still heartbreaking. At this time last week I would have been knee deep in water. This has been the worst floods the town has seen in living memory. I've been volunteering here since 1997. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and it's just soul destroying. The problem for us now is that while the waters have receded, you can't see anything, just apart from a mess. It's the hidden damage that we're only starting to discover. The damage to our locomotives, the damage to our carriages, the bearings, the traction motors. Take for instance, if you threw a hairdryer or a drill into a bath, it's not going to work very well afterwards. That's what we're faced with in a monumental scale. Diesel Railcar 458, probably best known to you from Dairy Girls, is actually a very lucky train. We were watching on CCTV as the water level kept rising and rising and rising, hoping it wouldn't reach the crucial parts of her. It just missed some of the traction motors and the axles. After a thorough inspection throughout the train, we're very hopeful that this train will at least be operational. We had to go along each bogie, each wheel set, and check all the bearings, all the traction motors, make sure that everything was dry, that there's no water ingress, and that has to be repeated right across every vehicle we have at the railway. It's going to be a long, hard slog. Poor 146, like most of the locomotives here, wasn't so lucky. The water came to about, waist height on me, covering every axle and water into every traction motor. We've started the process of inspecting and repairing the damage, but unfortunately it's going to take some time. Honestly, standing between where our north line and our south line splits, where I was standing was probably about 5, maybe even 6 feet deep. As soon as the water's receded, we've inspected the line. Thankfully, there's not much damage to the track, but there's still an awful lot of work left to do before we can even think about running a train over it. I'm standing in our carriage gallery, which is home to some of our most important items of rolling stock. We were very lucky in that the water didn't get actually into the vehicles. It just stopped short. Otherwise, the entire interiors would have been ruined. But again, like the locomotives, it's exactly the same problem. Bearings, water will have got into them, brakes into the vacuum pipes, everything's going to have to be dried out. This entire place is just soaking, the walls are soaking, and it just feels damp. This is just one example actually of the damage that's been done. These are ceiling panels from one of the carriages under restoration, the Ulster Saloon. They're 200 years old nearly, and they were put in here for safekeeping. We fished them out of about 3 or 4 foot of water just to save them. But we're just hoping if we dry them out carefully and slowly, that further damage won't be done to them. In the gallery here, just beside carriage 1097, you can clearly see where the water level reached. It's well above my knee, nearly up to my hip. So this is the end of the first day of the clear up. We've barely scratched the surface. It's not exactly been fun for our volunteers either. We estimate probably being about £250,000 worth of damage, if at least. Thankfully, we do have insurance, but it's not going to cover all of the costs. For instance, it's not going to cover most of the costs of the locomotives or the rolling stock. We need your help to get back on track. Please help in any way you can.